MJ Movie Reviews back again with another happy Halloween horror movie review. Well, after I did high tension Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, I thought it was time to lighten up the mood a little bit. So I decided to do a classic that all of us will remember. The Lost Boys, starring Jason Patrick, the two Coreys, directed by Joel Schumacher. Oh, and I forgot about Kiefer Sutherland and Alex Winter from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Oh my goodness, from I believe 1987, this movie was released. Yeah, 1987. Oh man, Lost Boys. I've got fond memories of this movie. I can still remember that. I remember seeing little previews for it, and of course, this picture here, which I'm glad this is the last of DVDs that actually still has the original poster art. But I still remember seeing this picture of the advertisements back when I was a kid in elementary school, and I'd seen advertisements for the film right before it had come to HBO, and I still distinctly remember digressing, guys, because I always got to give extra background on everything. But I still remember me and my brothers, my sister, my family. We had all went on a trip. I believe we went to Florida, and like when we were staying in the hotel was showing, because back in the day, HBO and Showtime used to always be like, these are new to HBO, coming this summer. And I remember they would constantly show these previews of the Lost Boys, because Lost Boys was coming on HBO this summer. I believe it might have been summer of '88. I don't know. It could be the next year, summer of '88, if I remember right. I could be wrong. It's been like 20, almost 30-something years. But either way, and I remember they would always show the advertisements of Kiefer Sutherland and the Lost Boys walking up over that hill after they killed all those guys at the bonfire. And then, of course, they'd always show the shot of Jason Patrick going like, turning towards the camera when he's the vampire. And, of course, the clip of Haim going, wait till I tell Mom you're a vampire. Next on HBO. I mean, man, I never get that out of my head. But I always liked this film. One of my good friends, it was always one of his favorites. Now, one of the reasons that I liked The Lost Boys was, of course, the two Coreys were in it. Of course, Corey Feldman, who back in the 80s when I was a little kid, I was a gigantic, enormous Corey Feldman fan. I was a fan of Corey Haim, but I didn't like Corey Haim as much as I just, between Friday the 13th Final Chapter, The Goonies, Stand By Me, and then this movie, I was just nuts over Corey Feldman. And then I remember Corey Feldman had did like this after school special for ABC or something, like Just Say No to Drugs or something. That was when Corey Feldman was in his Michael Jackson imitation phase. But I loved it. But that was one of the reasons that I clung to this movie. And I always liked the film. I always liked it. I always enjoyed it. And then, of course, once it came to television, HBO, and like regular TV, I used to watch it constantly when it used to come on the Channel 43 8 o'clock movie back in the early 90s, like all the time. But either way, it had been a very long time since I had actually watched this. And by the way, this right here is a 2-disc special edition. It was going for like $20 at Best Buy like a couple years ago, but I actually found this at like a discount. Whatever one of them stores are called, the exchange stores or whatever, and it was going for $5.99, just 2-disc DVD. So I went and swapped it. But it had been a long time since I had sat and just watched it from beginning to end, as all these films, because I tend to really watch them in pieces instead of watching them all the way through, unless I'm listening to the commentary track. And man, something? I really enjoy this movie much more than I did than when I was a kid, because I always thought it was good, but for some reason this movie is way better now. Like if when I was a kid, I probably would have rated this movie probably a 7 out of 10. I know, which sounds bad, but I just liked the film. I didn't think it was great. I just liked it. But, watching it again now, man, I give this a higher rating, man. I give this movie a solid 9 out of 10, man. It's almost a 10, man, if it wasn't for little tiny nitpicks, little tiny flaws. But I give this a higher rating, man. This is a fun movie, man. A lot of fun. Great performances. And let me just start what I love about this movie. This movie does not take itself seriously. It's got its tongue firmly in cheek, but it doesn't make fun of. It has fun with the conventions. Man, and I love that it's very faithful to the vampire lore. I mean, but then again, the vampire lore changes up so much. I mean, you could look at like John Carpenter's Vampires from Dusk Till Dawn, Fright Night, this movie. It kind of, Bram Stoker's Dracula. It kind of changes from movie to movie. But at least the general conventions that we know of, this movie's pretty faithful to it. And I also like how the writing in this movie is very good. It's very well written. And when I say very well written, the characters are really fleshed out very good. You get to know enough about everybody. There's little sprinkles throughout the story that you can go back and connect the dots. And you can go, oh, that was a setup for this, a setup for that. Oh, that makes sense. That's what this was all about. That's why this happened. This is why the grandfather's so strange. I mean, and the movie has very quirky characters. I love how the characters are quirky. And it has a almost Scream-esque self-aware sense of humor, but not as prevalent as that movie was, because that was like 20 years later. But it still has a very self-aware wink in it, and it's just really fun. The characters are fun. That's what I really like. I really like that the characters are fun. I love the humor, and I love the quirky, offbeat kind of humor to the movie. Like, everybody's kind of odd and strange, you know what I mean? The vampires are like just vampire and weird, but they're like 80s like villains, you know what I'm saying? With the permy mullets, and they got the rocker outfits on. Keith Sullivan is looking badass in this movie, man, with the bleach blonde hair and the bleach beard. My man got his coat on with the chains and the motorcycles. I mean, this is raw, man. They look bad, man, with that 80s hair. I love it. They're badass. And Corey Feldman, one thing I would say, and even Corey Haim too. Corey Haim, really, him and Jason Patrick are the perfect counterparts to each other. They really have a genuine big brother, little brother relationship. You know what I mean? And what I love is how Jason Patrick really kind of has he has that handsome leading man looks, but he kind of contains that essence of like Ralph Macchio in the Karate Kid 1, where it's like, I'm in a new town. He kind of has that soft-spoken, introverted lack of confidence underneath all that model exterior. And I love that. I love that. And I love how Corey Haim, kind of being the younger brother, has more confidence than the bigger. Corey Haim just owns the role, man. I mean, he's got his Red Rooster WWF hairdo with the hairspray in it. He's got his cheesy button-up Sonny Crockett shirt with his long, I don't know what kind of 80s coat that just looks goofy, but my man is strutting it, man. In the comic book store, he owns the screen. He owns the little brother role. Fantastic. Corey Feldman, I don't think Corey Feldman was ever really given as much credit as to how good of an actor he is. Corey Feldman he was a great actor when he was a kid. I mean, because when you look at Mouth, and you look at Tommy Jarvis, and then when you look at Teddy from Stand By Me, which I will say, I think Teddy is Corey Feldman's most fantastic role that he's played. The layers of darkness and humor in that role is just great. But Corey Feldman here is totally in on the joke. He delivers a straightforward kind of humorous false machoism to this role. Him and his brother, the Frog Brothers. I mean, it's great stuff. These guys know everything about vampires. They believe that this weirdo, wacko town in this weird beach area or whatever, they believe. Now, how do they know that vampires exist here? Who knows? It just services the story, man. But it's great. It's fun. The Corey Haim and Jason Patrick's mom, she's the sweet old Diane West from Parenthood, you know, who Joaquin Phoenix was jacking off in that movie all the time. She's that mom. We can talk about it, honey. I mean, she reminds me of the mom from What About Bob, but I love that actress. She's good, and she's a little odd too. And then when you see her father, the grandfather, he's whacked out of his mind, but you figure out later on in the movie why he's whacked out. It's great stuff, man. It is awesome. Everybody from all the characters are on the A game. Oh, and I also might add Kelly Jo Winter, who was in Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Popcorn, House Party. She was in a ton of 80s films back in the day. She gets a credit, but she's only like in the background, so I'm assuming her scenes must have got cut out. Maybe she's on the deleted scenes on the DVD. I haven't watched the deleted scenes yet, because I think there are some on here. But yeah, she's looking very pretty in this movie from the short moments of screen time that she's in. Okay, so now I got all the characters and the weird odd characters out the way. Let's get to the cheesy rock 80s music. Yes, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. I can fly out to, of course, let's go with the song that starts the movie. Well, it's a song that they play prevalent throughout the movie. Thou shalt not... Creepy, but not too sinister. It's creepy enough to give that vampire-esque contemporary to the 80s feel to the movie. And what I love is that this movie is strictly from the MTV Miami Vice era. Those of us who grew up back then, you can see it, you can smell it in every frame of this movie. There's, I think, at least 3 musical montages in this movie. Beautifully shot. The lighting. And what I love is that, along with the quirky characters, the thing is, Corey Haim is getting schooled by the Frog Brothers about vampire lore and all that, right? Through a comic book, right? Because they work in a comic book store. This movie is shot completely like a comic book. Bold colors. Oh, I love what they do with like the smoke and stuff. Particularly... the scene where they combine kind of the cheesy, and I will say, out of my favorite cheesy 80s songs in the movie, I do like the Thou Shalt Not. That song is cool, but my favorite cheesy 80s rock song in this movie is the one where they're driving on the beach on the motorcycles, and their hair is blowing, and the wind is in the background, and the sand, and the lights, and it was like, and they're going, and Keith Sullivan got his girl on the back, and they're smiling, the wind, oh man, it's so much fun, man. I just love this movie. I love this movie more than I ever have before, and I don't know why it's gotten better now, but I just love that song. It's so cheesy, the motorcycles, and I love when Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patric are racing. Jason Patric doesn't realize they're about to fly over the edge. It looks like it could be like a model, because this is the 80s, so it wasn't no CGI. So I'm assuming that this edge is probably a model, but looks really cool. It looks fake, but it looks cool. It lends to this strange world, you know? Awesome. I love a lot of the stuff they do with the vampires flying in the air into their lair when they go across this cool looking beach, and then you see this what is it called? Amusement park. Because there's a new amusement park built on top of this old amusement park, but that's where the Lost Boys lair is. It's in this decrepit amusement park that fell in between during an earthquake in one of the fault lines, right? And this amusement park just adds to this creepy atmosphere. And then, of course, guys, I can't not mention the sweaty, muscle-bound, mullet-wearing, saxophone-playing singer guy with a dog chain around his neck. I don't know what the hell was going on there, but you can only get away with that in the 80s. And my man is jamming too, man. He was like, you gotta stay on me. You gotta stay on me. And look, this dude is flexing his muscles, and they look like they put sweat on him. It is the most sweetest thing I say. Not sweet like awesome. I mean sweet like that. You know what I mean? But, you know, hey, look, it's an 80s movie, so I give the big muscle-bound, wrestling, mullet-wearing, saxophone-playing guy with a dog chain around his neck a pass because it's an 80s movie. But it's strange as hell. And I think it adds to this kooky vibe of this movie, man. It's good stuff, you know? And then the gore, there's enough gore. The gore doesn't go over the top. It doesn't go Evil Dead 2, but it's just enough. It's bloody just enough, and you get just enough goo, vampire goo too. It's great stuff, man. The way this movie is slickly shot with the colors, the cinematography. Of course, if I have to go visually, as just the way it looks, my two favorite shots out of this entire movie is them riding on the beach on the motorcycles. That's just a cool sequence. I love that whole sequence. And then after that, that's when Keith or Sullivan are trying to get Jason Patrick to help them kill those guys by the bonfire. And when Keith or Sullivan and his boys, after they wipe out, matter of fact, while they're killing the guys, and the shots that are coming in on Jason Patrick when he goes like, and oh man, I love the way that, and when they walk over the hill and he got his coat on and it's all of them with the blood, and he goes, Michael. It's just that shot when Keith or Sullivan rises up over the hill. It is badass, man. Oh man, it's just great. This is what movie making is all about, man. With everything, the elements of this movie is what film to me is all about, man. This kind of emotion that it brings out of you. Fun, It's great, man. I love this movie. I really love it. It's a 10 out of 10. Excuse me, I'm 9 out of 10. Because minor flaws, I will say minor flaw. Minor flaw is when it gets to the finale, the guys get killed a little bit too easy, all the vampires, a little bit too easy. But I want to say that I do like that this movie has a very quick pace. And the thing that's weird about this movie is it comes at a really quick pace. The movie it's like an hour and 32 minutes. Very quick pace. But it doesn't feel like you haven't got enough. It feels like you've gotten your serving of a vampire contemporary for the 80s vampire movie. It's good stuff, man. But that's just a minor flaw, that the bad guys get killed too easy. But I'm telling you, man, the colors and the smoke and the lighting and the really cool 80s hairspray, and I think her name is Jamie. Is it Jamie Garth? I always get her mixed up with Terry Hatcher. I always get those two actresses mixed up. Is it just me, y'all? But I always think they're one and the same. But I actually will say that I think Jamie Gertz is more prettier than Terry Hatcher, I think. Because I think, I don't know, I just like Jamie Gertz a little bit better. I think she's very pretty in this one, especially with that long. I got a thing for girls with dark, curly hair. It just gets me every time. So with the curly, long, dark hair, it's just, man. Fun flick, man. You know what? I'm going to get a flat screen. I got to see the way this looks on the flat screen. But I love this movie. And you know what? To people who are haters of Joel Schumacher, leave the man alone. Look, Batman Forever, okay. And we all know everybody gives the man crap because of Batman and Robin. Look, he didn't want Batman and Robin to be what it was. Look, it was just a flaw. Me personally, Batman and Robin and Batman Forever are not my cup of tea, but that's okay. We got to give the man credit for this film, Falling Down. Everybody can screw off. 8mm is good. He's done some really good work, people. So lay off the man. He's a good director, and I've heard him talk. He seems like a very, very down to earth, cool guy. And he having on the 8mm commentary, he actually gave a shout out to Brandon Lee. He was friends with the late great Brandon Lee. So anybody who was cool with Brandon Lee, man, is cool in my book, man. Fantastic movie, man. I love this film. I never saw the sequels. I don't think particularly I really want to. I don't think I want to see. I don't know, one was The Tribe, and I don't know. I know Corey Feldman starred in both of them. I'll pass on them. I'll pass. Y'all can tell me. Fun flick. I love it. Thumbs up the video. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video. And leave comments down below about 1987's The Lost Boys, man. Y'all leave me some childhood memories, comments. People who saw it back in the day when it first came out at the theater, when it first came to HBO, the video, whatever. And then some newcomers who've just seen the film now. Your take on it. Because to me, the film doesn't feel dated to me. Outside of the muscle-bound, saxophone-playing, sweaty guy with the mullet, it doesn't feel dated to me, man. But, oh, man, that's my view. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll be back with the rest of my reviews later on this week. Bye-bye.